So we're on the side where it says when parallel lines are cut by a transversal, what angle pair relationships exist. So we're going to be filling in all these boxes on our graphic organizer. So before we start filling in boxes, we need to know a couple of things. Our picture here, we have some lines, and let me make this just a little bigger. So a transversal, we haven't really talked about transversals before. Transversal just means a line, a ray, a segment that intersects two other lines, rays, or segments. So on our picture, on our graphic organizer, line L is the transversal. So line L is the transversal. So it's cutting across these two other lines. The other thing that's important to know is that line M and N are parallel. The symbol for parallel is two lines like so. So we would say M is parallel to N. That would be our symbol for parallel. So these two lines on our graphic organizer are parallel, and we can also see that by the arrows. They each have two arrows. So our lines are parallel. Line L is the transversal. And if you look on our graphic organizer, we're talking about, we have these words interior and exterior. So let's figure out what interior and exterior means. Interior just means between the parallel lines. So this is the interior. Interior is between the parallel lines. Outside the parallel lines is the exterior. And out here is the exterior. So interior just means between the parallel lines. Exterior is outside the parallel lines. And the transversal is this one line that cuts through both of them. So this information you'll need to add to your picture. And then we're just going to go start filling in the boxes. All right. So at the very top of your graphic organizer, it says corresponding angles. So I'm going to do corresponding angles. So you have a box, you don't even have to write that in. This first box, this very top box right there in the middle, this is going to be our postulate. So we're talking about corresponding angles, so you should write in underneath there postulate. This is our big postulate for today. And what do we say a postulate is? Something that we accept as true without proof. So our corresponding angles postulate. So our postulate is going to be, down at the bottom it says corresponding angles are corresponding angles are congruent. Well, on our picture we need to know which angles are corresponding. What do we mean by corresponding? Corresponding just means that they're in the same place on both lines. So let's figure out which ones of those are corresponding. On our picture, we have a bunch of corresponding angles. So these, you should put these in your box so you know which ones on your picture are corresponding. Angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding angles. So each one of those is above the transversal and below the parallel line, kind of to the right of the parallel line. Well, 4 is below the transversal. So if we wanted to look at angle 4 and angle 8 would be corresponding. Angle 1 and angle 5. Sure. So angles 1 and angle 5 are corresponding, angle 4 and angle 8, and angle 3 and angle 7 are all corresponding. So the way we can think about corresponding angles is that if we took the one parallel line and set it right on top of the other parallel line, those angles would be right on top of each other also. So that's what we mean by corresponding angles. They match up the place where they are situated on both parallel lines. So all 4 sets of these, all 4 pairs of these angles are corresponding angles on our picture. Excuse me. All right, let's go to the left where it says alternate interior. So alternate interior angles, the box to the left. Now what our words mean. Interior, we said what the interior was, so we're between the lines. Alternate means on opposite sides of the transversal. So we're between the lines and we're on opposite sides of the transversal. The alternate interior angles on this graphic organizer are angles 2 and angle 8. So if we look at angle 2 and angle 8 on the graphic organizer, they're between the parallel lines, but they're on opposite sides of the transversal. And angle 3 and angle 5 are also alternate interior angles. Inside, between the parallel lines, on opposite sides of the transversal. Alternate interior angles are congruent. So angle 2 and angle 8 would be congruent, and angle 3 and angle 5 would be congruent. So now we know that corresponding angles are congruent and alternate interior angles are congruent. So let's go down one more box to same side interior or consecutive interior. So what we're talking about here, interior means we're between the parallel lines. And consecutive or same side tells us that we're on the same side of the transversal. Our angles are on the same side of the transversal. So our same side interior angles on this graphic organizer are angle 3 and angle 8, and angle 2 and angle 5. And same side interior or consecutive interior angles are supplementary. And what does supplementary mean? Add up to 180. So same side interior angles add up to 180. So angle 3 and 8 would add up to 180, and angle 2 and 5 would add up to 180. So now we've taken care of the corresponding angles and the interior part of our graphic organizer, the part between the lines. So let's move over to the right and go to talk about the alternate exterior angles. So what we're talking about here, exterior means we're outside now, outside of the parallel lines. And alternate means opposite sides of the transversal. On our graphic organizer, the alternate exterior are angles 1 and 7. And angle 4 and angle 6. So those are alternate exterior angles. Now, if alternate interior angles are congruent, what would you guess alternate exterior angles are? So look at the picture on your graphic organizer. How do you think that angle 1 and 7 compare? Just by looking at them. They're the same. They're congruent. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So we're figuring out, we're learning lots of different things about what happens when we have two parallel lines that are cut by another line. So let's move down one box to the same side exterior. Same side exterior or consecutive exterior. So what we're talking about here, exterior means we're outside the lines. And we're on the same side of the transversal. So our same side exterior angles are angle 1 and angle 6 and angle 4 and angle 7. So those are our same side exterior angles. If same side interior angles are supplementary, what would you guess is true about same side exterior? They are also supplementary. And again, that means they add to 180. So angle 1 and 6 would add to 180. Angle 4 and 7 would add up to 180. Now let's look at the bottom two boxes. If we look at our picture, we see that we also have a lot of other angle relationships that we've already talked about. So let's remember what happens when we have a vertical pair. And just to remember, vertical angles are across the x from each other, like so. And I would recommend drawing this little picture in that box that says vertical pair. This is what a vertical pair is. If we look at our graphic organizer, there are all kinds of vertical pairs there. What do we know about vertical pair angles? Vertical pair are congruent. And then linear pairs are when we have angles that look like this. So this would be a linear pair. And if we look at our graphic organizer, there are lots of linear pairs there. What do we know about linear pairs? Supplementary. And again, I would suggest you draw the little picture in your box so you remember what a linear pair looks like. And supplementary means they add to 180. So now we have a graphic organizer filled with all kinds of information, everything we'd want to know about parallel lines and angles. So we can figure out all kinds of things. We can solve all kinds of new problems now that we know something about parallel lines. Our first box, the corresponding angles, we said that was a postulate. The corresponding angles were congruent. And all of these others, if we accept that postulate is true, all of the others we can figure out are true we can do proofs to show that the rest of them are true. So all the rest are theorems. We start with our postulate and we can prove our theorems. Questions on the graphic organizer? No questions? Okay. So our homework tonight is